Hello there, Seraph17 once again. This is my Mortal Shell beta footage. This is a Foundling run of that beta. So I'm calling it a Foundling run, I don't know its technical name. Every time you speak to the NPCs, they call you a Foundling when you're in this form, but they also call you a Foundling when you're not in this form, sometimes, so it's ambiguous. But the only thing you need to know is that I do not, at any moment in this run, bond with a shell. And this means a few things. So the first thing it means is I will never get access to the Tarnished Seal, I will never be able to parry, and I will never be able to riposte and heal. The second thing, I will never be able to use, seemingly in this beta, the resolve attack of the Hallowed Sword, because it involves getting an upgrade that you are given when you bond with the shell at the very beginning. I'm hoping the main game isn't designed like that, because it would be quite frustrating losing access to such a bullshit move. And then the final thing is that everything will kill you in one hit. Right now, we're technically not in Foundling mode, because you'll notice when we go into the next battle against Unadorned, I have a huge life bar even in this state, which I think is the game developers being kind to you. And thus, to counter that kindness, you're going to see a no damage fight against Unadorned here, and I'm going to explain it. I've already showed this on my channel, just to give you an idea, but I'll talk about what I'm doing because there's an interesting little setup I've got for this. It's not the quickest, but it does not involve just dodging through all of his hits using the incredibly powerful dodge. It does involve dodging through one of the ripostes that he gets to do, but the setups I'm going to show you here are pretty much guaranteed safety as long as you don't get unlucky, because this guy can be a little bit bullshit at times. It feels like, anyway. So the strat is simple. Wait for the R2, wait for the second thrust, and then jump attack it. Then harden, then punish what he does afterwards. The punish after you harden is indicative of what he does. If he hits you with a normal move, you can hit him twice and get out of there. If he hits you with that chest bump that's really quick, that press check that he does with his titties, if he does that, you can only hit once or you'll trade. So see this? 1, 2, dodge. And the best punish that I found, outside of maybe R1 into running attack, which you might be able to pull off, is R1 into R2. So watch for the thrust, watch for the second thrust, jump attack, harden, that was a normal hit, 2 hits, get out of there. And as long as you do R1, R2, you are maximizing your damage. But the moment he does that quick check that breaks your harden, you can only do 1 hit. If you do 2 hits, you'll trade. That's 2 hits. The first hit did no damage, did you see that? That's what you're fighting with here. And this guy has an absurd amount of HP. Because this is one of the... That did no damage as well. Completely 0 damage just then. That just then, I could have hit him twice on his recovery, because he just decided to walk around. And this right here looks like an AI bug. There's times when Unadorned walks towards you and doesn't do anything until you attack because he wants to roll. He wants to dodge your move. So if you go for a move, he'll just instantly roll it on command. But he'll just walk towards you doing nothing. It's weird. It's happened to me twice. So here we go. 2 hits. R1, R2. There's the roll. There's the thrust. Right now, don't punish too quickly, because if you do, you won't have a harden to protect yourself. You can get out of here after a hit and just spam roll, but for the safest strategy, only punish when you know you can harden for safety. And it's just a patience game, guys. It's not a skillful fight. It's not an interesting fight. It's just do the smart thing, do the patient thing, and then when you get the full game, you can hopefully... They've not changed him too much. I'd love if the devs changed him, dude. If in the full game this guy's got like 10 extra moves and he's a fucking nightmare, I'd love that. But they're not going to. So this strategy is going to guide any player of any skill level to getting that achievement right at the beginning of the game. And it's worth 100G, which is huge. And on most of the footage of the beta I watched, people weren't even beating this guy, let alone beating him without taking a hit. So it just goes to show that this is one of those fights that a lot of players will just assume you can't win. But you can. But you have to understand how the game works, or you have to play like a bitch. Those two things are very strong in this fight. And there you go, there's our glimpse of Reverie. And our run begins. So I'm probably not going to do the first 2 encounters here, because something kills you near that fight, and it's annoying. And to give you an idea, guys, the game right now is on all low. Every setting is on low right now. This is as low as the game gets on PC. I did it to show you a contrast between the Ultra that we've been recording, just to give you an idea of how nice the game looks on low, and I think the game looks fine. Obviously it looks a lot more pretty on the higher one, but you're going to trade frame rate. And additionally guys, this was my first Foundling run of the beta. I could have done more, I could have made it cleaner, I could have made it sexier, but I didn't want to do that. The only stipulations that I wanted was I wanted to no damage all the bosses. That was my idea. The missions themselves, I could have grinded it until I got it in one continuous take, but it's kind of not the point of my footage. This is just meant to be something a little different that excites people at the dawn of this game's release, because it comes out in a few days. And if you're watching this and you think it looks cool, then you should absolutely pick it up. I'm not affiliated with the devs, they won't even notice me on Twitter, the bastards. But I hope them all the success with this title, because I'm liking what I'm seeing. But here is Ven. Ven is really predictable once you learn him. The biggest problem is every so often he'll recover from a hit into a very fast attack. So you want to harden. I don't know if I hardened in that fight, but a lot of the times I try not to harden. There's a little secret. It's got some lore related to it. I really like this idea of hitting the environment, finding lore, and being given a reward for doing it. It reminds me of the orb caches from Devil May Cry. I've given you a little time there to read that. I apologise I didn't read it myself. And there's a problem here in the game, which is an oversight, and I hope that they change it. You cannot crawl backwards in these tunnels. So if you accidentally go into the tunnel, you can't back up and get out. You have to go through it, see the transition, go back in it, climb all the way through it, see the transition. However, the good news, if you hold sprint when you're in the tunnel, you will crawl a little bit faster. So there's a bit of tech for you. But I'm surprised I'm doing this, because this is not a good idea on a shellless run. But there you go, the fellas go down. We're going to pick a loot up potentially. Oh, I did pick the loot up? That's travesty right there. So now I suppose I should talk about the ability to charge your attacks, which is really, really nice, but it's really subtle at times, and sometimes you might not realise you're doing it. So you can charge any hit. Any hit in an R1 3-hit string, and any hit in an R2 3-hit string. And it's really, really, really cool, because it enables you to modify depending on how much damage you're going to get. There's the harden. Played it really. Do you see that? That was a harden dodge offset. I did 2 R1s, harden into an R2, and the R2 was the final hit of the R2 string. Gosh, this game is cool. It's got some cool things in it. The bear traps look terrible on low. Did you see that? It looked like Roblox. That was godlike. But we're going to come over to Vlas, because I want to get my quenching acid. You need 500 tar to buy it off him, and when you kill those enemies that I just killed, you'll have enough money to do so. So I'm going to go over here and get my free upgrade. He also has a different dialogue because I'm naked. He apparently likes my fragrance.
You'll fancy amongst my collection.
I'm tempted to do a video of all the items in the beta with max familiarity, because I've pretty much got every item you can find maxed. And when you max an item's familiarity, which I say that word in an odd way, but it's just the only way I know how to do it. When you max that on an item, it tells you a slightly different explanation of it on a lore perspective. It also gives you a bonus of whatever the item's use is. And right now, you never want to fight 2 of these guys. 2 of these guys with that running attack is dangerous. I think I'm going to die here, and I'm going to leave the death in to show you that what happens when you get hit. So that was a really clutch dodge, and it shows you the iframes. Did you see those iframes? Crazy. So I almost win this. I didn't mean to do this, if you're wondering. I absolutely never want to pull 2 of these guys. I fought all 3 of them at once. You can make it work, but it's just not as nice as it could be. Look at those iframes. Whew. So there's a mistake coming up here. I go R1, 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 and the final R1 is really slow. If I'd have done R1, R1, R2, or R1, R1, and then jump attack cancelled, I would have survived. Watch this. We traded. We traded and he sat me down. Absolute nonsense. But there you go. Be careful what you wish for. You might get it. Harden into R1, R1, R2. So you see that? I think that move might have beaten it. Then again, if you slow it down, I might have done that move and still lost. But there's a lot of really interesting strategies with these guys that involve not even rolling. And I really like them, so those are the strategies I'm going to use from now on. If you're wondering as well, guys, I have some footage that is long after I played this particular run. And it's long after I learned a lot more about the game than I did know at this point. But once again, this is not meant to be, you know, Chris waves his big dick at everybody. There are 2 videos on the channel at the moment. One of them is the no damage Haddon fight that you just watched, which is pretty big dick because I haven't seen anybody use that strategy that I've used against him. Most of the strategies I've seen are people fighting him for a decent amount of time, just punishing with a jump attack, which is really smart, but none of them doing the punish the way that I did it, which I like to get strategies that I can't see anywhere else. It's just nice to be able to put your stamp on things. And then I've just put up today a video of me beating the enslaved Grisha, which I don't think there's a single video on YouTube right now that is even remotely close to what I do in that video, so hopefully that'll look pretty cool. But here's the abandoned catacombs, guys. I'm still using the hallowed sword. I have a loot on my person, which could be quite interesting. So fun fact, guys, when he starts pulling his head off, if you kill him, you'll interrupt the head and he won't release poison. Right here, you always want to harden because he's going to throw a sword and he almost never misses. There's a ghoul on the right. Sometimes this guy will jump at you. His jump attack, he squats down, he makes almost no sound, and then he does this vacuum grab that is unparryable. He's a bit of a nightmare when he wants to be. When he's been stupid like this, he's kind of a cream puff. At distance, this enemy can spit projectiles at you, and the animation on it is really, really rough. I wish they'd go back and change it. It's like he spits a piece of Lego, and it's not quite there, guys. I hope you tweaked it. I hope somebody told you to tweak it, because if you think it's okay, I worry. But anyhow, take down that guy, get your spectral token. There's one guy on the right here. There's one guy on the left that stands there waiting to kick you down that gap. I missed my move just then, but I'm going to get him with some cheeky Dark Souls pokage. That R1 there, if you don't hit cancel that with another swing, it has some of the most recovery of any move I've ever seen, dude. You are in it for an eternity. If you harden on his first attack, he will always fall off. And then there's this guy. Good old Gimp Mask McGee. So, I know his HP is quite low, so I know he's going to go into the head move. I'm going to hit him with a running attack, and then I'm going to try and kill him before he does it. And there we go, we get the kill. So, over on the left here is where the galvanized acid is for the second level up of the run. And then there's this dude who I'm going to fight. This enemy here, when you try to do no roll, is very difficult. Because all of these moves make it so hard to land a hit and get away. Because he has 4 hit strings, and he's got really good tracking at times. And he's got so much HP. It's absolutely doable, and there's some really, really cool finesseful things you can do, but it's a bit unreasonable at times. But I just got the quenching acid. I'm going to run all the way back and upgrade the sword. There's a time I died earlier on. I don't really understand what happens with the tar in this game. It feels like when you die repeatedly, you don't lose it like you do souls, which I think is a nice touch. I could be completely wrong, though, because I don't really focus on that kind of information. But there's the +2 sword. We're going to go back in here and take on the boss. I'm going to run the other path, I think. Oh, maybe not. Run back. This is not the fastest way to run back. You can run back the other way. I would recommend doing the other way as well. There's no shortcut to this fight. Am I going to fight this guy? Interesting. This is an interesting choice, but I'm using harden, so it's not a problem. When you harden, you're fine. I did a run of this, no upgrades, no harden, no roll, and this guy, dude, fighting these guys with that stipulation, oof, harder than the boss. And I'm going to play the loot, aren't I? Yeah, so, you know how I mentioned in the first video that you can harden at any time? You can harden while you're using items, which is so odd, and I love it. So, the problem is you can't stand up after the loot fast enough, so this guy did actually kill me. But I thought that was pretty funny, so I kept it in. Because I wanted to loot the boss, and then that dude was slow walking behind me, so I just embraced it. But did you see that just then? You can harden during a jump attack, and the boss will run into it and then trade with your move. It is so profoundly strong. This is so crazy. But this is the first time I beat Grisha as a shell-less cretin. And I'm not even going to lie, guys, the icicles killed me more than the boss did. Learning how the icicles work, you'll also notice, at this moment, I wasn't playing with game sound on, so I couldn't hear the telegraph when the icicles were falling. So I just thought the icicles were random. And I really hated them more than I hate them, and I hate them a lot. I've also found some new tech in this game, which I'm tempted to share. Or not share. Like, I don't want the devs to patch it. But I don't know if they would, because I feel like it's intentional. But I don't want to give it to people, because it's a bit too strong. I did that with Phantom Pain back in the day, because I found a really, really overpowered farming strategy for soldiers. And I really wanted to make a video, because I knew it would have got really big, because everybody would have wanted to know that shit, because farming soldiers in that game was boring. But at the same time, I felt like I was breaking the game. And at that point, I'd spent like 100 hours farming soldiers, and I didn't want to give people this super sexy path where they didn't have to invest as much time as I did. I did it for humanity, guys. I did it for humanity, not so that some people could suffer the way I suffered. If I was Jesus, I'd be welcoming other dudes on the cross. I'd be like, nail yourself up here with me, son. Feel it. It's terrible. But here is Grisha, anyhow. There's nothing much to say. This boss is a normal enemy in the main game. You're going to fight it in various forms, including a version that doesn't have a helmet that can do a grab. Its moveset is very simple. It has a growl which leads to 4 hits. It has a jumping move. It can headbutt the ground. It can do a 1 hit into a thrust, and it can do a double sweeping wide hit when you're close. Other than that, it can do its really cool baseball slide running move. And that's about it, man. Like, I hope this boss gets more in-depth in the main game. I would imagine you will fight 2 of these at the same time. And I would also imagine it's not going to be as bad as you think. As long as there's no stupid icicles, I feel like this is... Oh, look at that. The game nearly crashed as well on my final hit. Can you believe that? You can even hear the audio. I shit myself, because this beta crashed a lot. And I know games crash, guys, and I know betas are early and quite raw, but I'm talking 50 plus crashes. And admittedly, I put like 10 hours into the beta. I played it a whole lot. But I'm hoping that the full game is just a lot better optimized, more stable, less crashes. Because if the full game crashes as much as the beta, I really think people are going to have a rough time. Because when my game crashes and I lose progress against a boss, I don't care. It lets me practice the boss. I'm the kind of guy, I'm going to play this game dozens of times, maybe hundreds of times if I really like it. I'm going to try and master every element of it. I'm going to grind it. So for me, it doesn't make a bit of difference. But to that poor guy that doesn't get much time to play games and is playing on a weekend, you know, that person losing a boss fight that they're winning to a crash can be catastrophic. But here is the dialogue when you talk to the lady. It's a little bit different because I'm, of course, not wearing my armor. I don't have a shell. And she's waxing poetic, and that's the end of the beta, guys. So watch this. This is where I get killed by nothing. See that? I get killed by flint or sparks off a rock. That happens a lot as well, especially around that first fire. Something's going wrong there, and I really hope that's not in the main game. But thank you for watching, guys. You take care now.